What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiance Season 10, Episode 6, If Anyone Objects to This Union. So let's get started with Igor and Nikki. So they finally consummate their relationship, right? They finally have sex. Nikki is still not satisfied. So even though they did the problem is that Nikki just wasn't physically satisfied. Certain things that he used to do before he found out that she was a trans woman, he doesn't do that anymore. So she's kind of left, yes, we did it, but I didn't get anything out of it, basically. And I think they only did it one time, and poor Igor, he was pooped out. He went straight to bed. So there wasn't a lot of action. She made it seem like it was very, very short. It was kind of like hit it and quit it, or hit it and go to sleep. And she's still not satisfied. So Igor says that he's just not as experienced as she is. So he doesn't really know all the kinky techniques that she likes, etc., to satisfy her. So moving on from there, they go to meet Igor's friends. So the friends have never met any of Igor's girlfriends before. So this must be really big for Igor to introduce Nikki to his friends, right? Because he's been very private. He doesn't talk about her. He doesn't let anybody know who he's dating. And he for sure as hell has never brought any woman to go meet his friends. So, Nikki feels very validated that she's able to meet his friends, because it's like he's ready to take her out, into the open, introduce her to his close friends. So she feels very validated, like he's finally acknowledging me as his woman, as his girlfriend, and he wants the whole world to know. So as they're sitting down at dinner, they talk about Moldova and how much Moldova has changed since the last time Nikki was there 15 years prior. And Nikki says, well, not only has the country changed in the past 15 years, but I've changed a lot as well. And so she talks about how, she looks different, she sounds different, and, her body has changed a lot. And so that was, okay, whatever, that was cute. And so, Igor and Nikki, they talk about how, the beginning of their relationship, how things were before he found out that she was trans. And then he found out that she was trans and how that really affected him. And, he went back to Moldova because he really couldn't handle it. Nikki also talks about her journey as a trans woman. So she tells the friends how she struggled when she first came out. Her family didn't want to speak to her for 2 years. She was living on the streets. She was prostituting herself. She was basically doing whatever she could just to survive. So life was really, really hard when she initially came out. And so one of Igor's friends, Roxy, she seems very sympathetic. She's listening to the story, and it seems like, it's really touching her heart, listening to all the experiences that Nikki had gone through. So, Nikki then takes Roxy to go talk to, like, for them to have like a private conversation at the bar. And she basically confides in Roxy that, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like a Moldova thing or just an Igor thing, but, I'm just not satisfied in the bedroom. First of all, it took like an act of Congress for us to even have sex. And then when we finally did it, it just really wasn't satisfying. And then she specifically points out that Igor, he used to, perform orally on her, and that he no longer does that. And so she's wondering, like, why wouldn't he do that? Because he used to do that before, but he doesn't do it now. And the friend really, I felt like Roxy was a little bit overwhelmed with all of this information. I mean, this is her friend, her homeboy, and maybe she doesn't want to know about all the intimate details of what's going down in their bedroom and what Igor is or isn't doing. But I felt like the friend was a little bit uncomfortable because she really didn't offer that much of advice. Now, she did nod her head and she did seem sympathetic, but it didn't seem like, she wanted to really get down to the gory details and to dissect and analyze Igor and Nikki's sex life. Now, back at the table, Igor is talking to his homeboys, and he's telling them that, they ask him, the friends ask Igor, so does she still have her male anatomy, or what's really going on? And Igor tells them that no, she doesn't have her male anatomy anymore. And he says that compare her to, like, if you were to look at Nikki naked and compare her to a naturally born naked woman, you will never be able to tell the difference that she was trans. The operation that they did down there, he said, it was a really good operation because you cannot tell the difference. And so he says, but that whenever he thinks about what used to be there, and the fact that, she's a trans woman and that she was born male, whenever he thinks about that, it really affects him, and he can't like perform sexually. Like it kills his libido, let's say. And they also talk about how Nikki is sexually aggressive. He tells his friends that, she is very aggressive when it comes to sex. She's very dominant in that area. And the friends were like, yeah, because in Moldova, the men are used to the women being more submissive and passive, and her aggressiveness, her sexual aggressiveness, is also like another turn off for Igor. So they have a lot to work through if they really want to be together, and if they want to be together for the right reasons. They have a lot to work through, because the issues that Igor is having, to tell you the truth, in my personal opinion, I don't think he's ever going to be able to get over them. Because he can't stop thinking about what he already knows. He can't just forget that, this is a trans woman. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what kind of therapy he's going to need to get past that, if he wants to get past that and he wants to stay with her. But as long as now he knows, like, you can't unsee things, right? You can't, once it's out there, once you know, you can't unknow it. So I don't know. Basically that's what's been getting in the way of their intimacy, is him trying to get past the fact that now he knows that she was born male, that, she was assigned male at birth. Now that he knows that, he can't unknow it, and it's affecting him sexually. So moving on from there, let's talk about these two cuckoo birds, Gino and Jasmine. So Gino and Jasmine, they're back to their old shenanigans. Okay, so now it's time to meet Gino's family. Jasmine's not happy about it because she doesn't like his family. She thinks that his family is too judgmental and too critical. They don't like her. They don't want her to be with Gino. They're trying to persuade Gino not to be with her. So they're really working against their union. So Jasmine can't stand them. So now she's going to have to put on a fake smile and pretend to be happy when she sits down and has dinner with these people. So she tells Gino that if she starts to feel uncomfortable at any point, she wants to go home. She just wants to leave. So when they get to the establishment, the family's there, and it's basically just a bunch of his cousins, right? Everyone stands up. They greet her with smiles and open arms. Jasmine says that she's not falling for the okie doke. She's like, all of their smiles and their happiness to see me and their hugs, to me, I felt like an animal like what did she say? She's like, it was like an animal luring their prey. Like they were just pretending to be happy to see her until they get her exactly where they want her, and then they're going to start, tearing her apart. So they play bocce ball, because Gino says it's like a big tradition in his family to play bocce ball. Jasmine ended up being really good at it. And then after they do that, the family says that they were interviewing two of his family members, and they said that Gino and Jasmine are very mismatched. They said that Gino isn't the best looking guy. He doesn't have any money. So what is she really after? So basically they're trying to say, like, they think that she's just after a green card because he ain't got nothing going for him. His own family members are basically saying that he's too ugly and broke to attract a woman like Jasmine. So she must have ulterior motives as far as why she's with them. And I'm not the one to defend Gino and Jasmine and their relationship, but maybe Jasmine knows that he's not the best looking guy, but that's what attracted her to him, because she felt like, if he wasn't that good looking, she wouldn't have to worry about him cheating. And their personalities, I mean, who else is going to put up with Jasmine, and who else is going to put up with Gino? So Gino tells a couple of his relatives about the money that he has sent to her for a wedding gown that she ended up spending on plastic surgery, which was the butt implants. So I'm like, okay, you're trying to impress your family with your fiance. You want your family to like your fiance. Why in the world, the first time that they're all meeting her collectively, why in the world, Gino, would you tell them that she misappropriated funds that you sent her for a wedding gown, and instead she used it for a very selfish reason, which was to get butt implants? Why would you tell them that at this particular time and place? Like any other time, I would understand. But you're trying to introduce her to your family. You're trying to integrate her into your family. You want your family to like her. But then you're going to go off and talk about how, all she does is think about about herself. I sent her money for, something as pure as buying a wedding gown, but now she just wants to get butt implants. So of course they took that as a red flag. They took that as, Jasmine is just using Gino, and she's just here for a green card, so it's going to fuel that ideology. So obviously the family, okay, they all sit down to have dinner, and they talk about the wedding, and they ask her, like, have you picked a venue yet? Where are you as far as the wedding planning is going? And Jasmine says that she just wants to have a private ceremony with just her and Gino and her dog. And I'm thinking, does she want this because she can't afford a wedding gown anymore, because she blew the money for the wedding gown? So because she doesn't have the money anymore to buy like an extravagant wedding gown, she's just like, well, we'll just go to the courthouse. I don't know. So someone questioned, how grateful are you that, Gino has done this, beautiful thing by bringing you to America? Have you showed your appreciation, et cetera, et cetera? And Jasmine was like, pump the brakes. First of all, I understand that y'all want me to get down on my knees and just, praise Gino and thank Gino for bringing this poor little immigrant to the United States. But really, in all fairness, he should be grateful that I was willing to give up my life in Panama, to walk away from my family and my friends and my country and everything that I've ever known to come be with him in America. He should be grateful to me. And as much as like I said, I don't really care for this Gino and Jasmine dynamic, I had to kind of give it to her for that. I kind of like that answer. I really did enjoy hearing her say that, because it's always like, the immigrant has to be like forever thankful, forever grateful for getting for this American, getting them out of, their poverty, and getting them out of this really horrible life to come to the great land of the United States. Yes, the United States is a great land, but there's nothing wrong with Panama. There's nothing wrong with any of these countries that these people come from. So like this whole idea of the immigrant has to basically, I don't know, just be so forever and eternally grateful because you got me out of a basket. No, it's not always like that. So she was like, he needs to be grateful that I even wanted to come here and be with him, as ugly and as broke as he is. Not my words, his own family's words. So the question then was, how will you contribute and be a productive American citizen? And Jasmine was like, I'm educated. I'm a professional. I speak 2 languages, but the issue is I can't contribute diddly squat right now because I can't work right now because your country, your laws, are not allowing me to work. So Jasmine says that she is not after Gino's money. Then they talk about a prenuptial agreement, and the family says that Gino, he doesn't have much, but he worked really hard for the little bit of coins that he does have. And so he needs to protect, the couple of bucks that he has in the bank. And so they want her to sign a prenuptial agreement. In fact, one of the relatives said, when I married my wife, who was sitting right next to him, I had to sign a prenuptial agreement, and it's just for the protection of her assets or whatever. So, Jasmine, she's not, she don't want to hear nothing about no damn prenup. So she's not about that. And she's like, no, that's not going to be happening. Well, she didn't come right out and say that, but we know that Jasmine is not signing a prenuptial agreement. So on their way home, Jasmine says that because nobody in his family is from any other country, they're all American, born and bred, they have no empathy for her, and they just don't like her, and they don't want to give her a chance. And there's nothing that she can do to make them like her. And Gino says, you need to give my family a chance. You have to be patient with them, and you have to give my family a chance. So once again, he's kind of leaning more towards his family than he is towards Jasmine. But that wasn't even the hot tea that was being served to us. The real issue was when she had dropped her phone and she was looking for her phone on the floor of the car, she found a tube of lip gloss. So she asked him, what is this? Whose is this? And Gino's like, I don't know what the hell that is. And he says that it must have been one of his coworkers must have dropped. And I thought he would have said that it could have been one of his family members, because he does have, plenty of females in his family. I thought, like, why wouldn't he say it could have been one of my cousins? Why did he have to say it was one of my coworkers? So then that gets gets her all riled up, and she's like, you go out to lunch with your coworkers? And he's like, yes, I'll go out to lunch with my coworkers, but that was a long time ago. So they start, shouting and yelling at each other. She's just she does her whole entire Shakespearean dramatics. She's leaning into the car door as if, all the life has just been drained out of her because she found this tube of lip gloss. He's trying to explain to her, I'm not cheating on you. She's adamant that he is cheating on her. Then she starts wailing about, I want to go back home. I want to go back to Panama. He was like, okay, I'm going to drop you off at the apartment. I'm going to call you an Uber because I don't want to see you tonight. And she's like, yeah, I don't want to see you either. I can't spend the night with you tonight. So he drops her off at the apartment. And as she is like coming out of the car, her cell phone drops on the ground. And she's just so distraught and just so in her feelings, I guess. She doesn't even notice it, or she doesn't even care. So she walks off into a field somewhere behind a building, and she's just crying and wailing. But we all know this is cyclical for Jasmine and Gino. This is their cycle. Something happens, they explode, and then it's back to, oh, my gringuito, I love you, my gringuito. So whatever, just take it for a grain of salt. We're not falling for the shenanigans. We're not falling for the banana and the tailpipe. Shout out to Coming to America. Beverly Hills Cop. Moving on to Clayton and Ana. So your girl Ana from Peru has finally made it to Kentucky. And Clayton arrives at the airport. He has a beautiful bouquet of flowers for her and also an a stuffed alpaca. On their way to the apartment, Clayton says that he shares with us that, Ana, she's extremely organized. Basically, she's clean. She's very neat. She's organized. And so he's worried about what is she going to think about his apartment. So they get to the apartment. Clayton introduces Ana to his mother. And I guess the mother was very nervous and she wanted to impress Ana with her Spanish. And so when she hugged her, she also said, te amo, meaning I love you. And it was sort of like, Ana was like, huh? What? Excuse me? Huh? But I guess the mom was nervous and she just said the first Spanish phrase that came into her mind, when she should have just said, so nice to meet you or whatever. But moving on from there. So the mom was nervous. So he shows her around the apartment, which is a very small apartment. It's not much to show. When you're standing in the living room, you're seeing everything. And then he also shows her the closet that his mother lives in. I just feel so weird saying the closet that his mother lives in. His mother lives in a closet. Okay, so he shows her the closet that his mom, she doesn't live in it, she sleeps in it. So Ana is very confused because she says this is a closet. I don't know why the mother is sleeping in a closet. You're supposed to put your shoes, you're supposed to put your suitcases and your clothes in a closet, not your mom. But okay, yeah, it works for them. So he shows her the animals, and there's this whole thing about, the guinea pig, because, and I guess in her country they eat guinea pigs, and she even jokes around and says, if you make me mad, I'm going to eat your guinea pigs. So she also notices that there's no couch. So then it's finally time to go to bed, and they get ready for bed, and she puts on the t-shirt that he had gotten for her, which is a picture of both of them on the t-shirt, and it says something like, I'll love you until infinity in Spanish. And so he was really happy to see her wearing the t-shirt. And so they get in the bed, and he's got this huge stuffed panda bear. And so she takes the panda bear and she puts it in between them. And he's like, what are you doing? And he says, I need my space. So the panda bear is going to stay in between us. So basically, don't touch me, don't cuddle me, don't even think about touching me. So he kind of chalks it up to, well, she probably needs her sleep because she was on a 30-hour flight. And he's like, and she probably doesn't feel comfortable being intimate with me, with my mom, 10 feet away in her closet. So he kind of is like, okay, I'm going to let it, the vibe that he was giving me was like, I'm going to let it slide this time. Okay, but don't think Mr. Panda is going to save you next time. So he was really not happy about that. Clayton gives me incel vibes. Does he give those kind of vibes to y'all, like an incel? Moving on to Ashley and Manuel. So Ashley takes Manuel to meet her friends, right? And the friends, they feel like, well, they kind of know a little bit of their history. So the friends are already like, yeah, we think that he's very controlling. And after they kind of talk to him a little bit, they're kind of like, we always thought he was controlling, and it doesn't seem like he's changed. He still seems kind of controlling. And they ask him, are you ready to get married? And he says, I'm 80% married. I'm 80% ready to get married. And so they're like, well, what about the other 20%? I forgot what he said about the other 20%, but then they start talking about secrets. And he says that everybody has secrets. He says that everybody's entitled to have secrets. And there's nothing wrong with secrets. And then a couple of Ashley's friends who were sitting to the left of Ashley, or the left, I don't know where. Okay, the two of her friends, which was a man and a woman who are married. They're like, well, we're married and we don't keep secrets from each other. And I was like, y'all are married? Interesting, because I thought the guy was gay, but maybe he's bisexual. So Ashley says, she doesn't believe in secrets, etc., etc. She also says that Manuel doesn't like to be questioned. If she questions him about anything at all, like, he will not answer and he will shut down. He doesn't like to be questioned. The friends said that they have Ashley's best interest at heart and they just really want Manuel to treat her good. Manuel did not enjoy this friends meeting. He didn't like it at all. He said he felt attacked. There are times he says he felt ignored. So he wasn't, vibing at all with this group of friends or this whole entire evening. So the next time that we see Ashley and Manuel, they're on their way to see a therapist. And I'm like, wow, he's been here not even a whole month and y'all are already running to the therapist. So Manuel, obviously, he's not about this whole therapy life. He doesn't need it. He doesn't want people prying into his business. He doesn't want to talk about his feelings. So he's just not feeling this at all, but he's going to go because, Ashley's making him. So when he gets there, though, like, his whole persona changes when the therapist walks in. He completely lightens up and has this big old grin on his face when he sees a therapist, because she was a very attractive young lady. And so that kind of changed his tune a little bit. Now, when they sit down with the therapist and they start talking and getting into their problems, Ashley says that her issues with Manuel is that he does not open up. He doesn't communicate. He shuts down. He's not very transparent. And it's hard for them to have any kind of a deeper connection. He just plops himself down in front of the TV and that's it. And Manuel was like, yes, and I enjoy to see how this affects her, or something like that. Like him ignoring her or not connecting with her. He says something about I enjoy watching her react, or watching her get mad when I act like this or when I do this. And so Ashley, of course, was really pissed off about that. Without sex, I don't know what the hell is keeping these two together. I don't see any attraction between them. I don't see much of anything. I'm like, what in the world drew y'all together? Because Ashley, she's all about, spirituality, and she's a witch, and, she's Mother Universe and Mother Earth, and the stars and the planets are aligned and they're, directing my life. And he just seems like a simple, blue collar, down to earth kind of guy who wants to put in his 8 to 12 hours at work, come home, pop open a beer, have a good meal and go to bed. He doesn't want to talk about witches and witchcraft and spells and crystals and planets and stars and astrology and all. He don't want to talk about none of that mess. What is keeping these two people together? Somebody please tell me. I need to know. So moving on from there, let's go ahead and talk about Sophie and what's his name? Rob? Sophie and Rob. Okay. So, Rob and Sophie. So they have 70 days to get married, and they've already hit a huge bump in the road because Sophie has discovered very inappropriate videos of other women on Rob's phone, and Rob has been interacting with these women. So she has moved out of his apartment. She is in her own little Airbnb, and he's steadily texting her, please talk to me, don't shut me out. And she's, I guess, just ignoring him. Later on, we see Sophie FaceTiming her mother, and she tells her mom what happened. She tells her about the videos that she saw on his phone, how he had done this before to her, and she had told him previously, if you ever do this again, I'm going to leave you. And here he is doing it again. So the mom is obviously very upset because she already doesn't like Rob. She thinks that Rob is not good enough for her daughter. So she says to Sophie, she says, he's jobless, he's boring, and he's talking to dirty skanks online just to get his sausage to explode. So I'm gonna need you to come back home. Stop the shenanigans and come back home. So I don't know what she's gonna do, but we see in the teaser for next week, he made his way to her little Airbnb, so she must have given him the address, and they're having a conversation about their problems, and we'll see where it goes from there. I don't know what to say, but then she also say that he was exchanging these videos 14 weeks ago. 14 weeks, that comes out to almost like 4 months prior. Yeah. And they were already, Rob, you messed up bad. You messed up real bad. Moving on to Nick and Devon. So, Devon is supposed to be meeting Nick's family. So they go to the restaurant. No, they arrive wherever they meet before they go into the restaurant. So it was very awkward, when she initially met his parents. Of course, because there's a language barrier that contributes a lot to the awkwardness. So they finally go inside the restaurant. They sit down and they start eating. And like I said, it's his parents and his sister and his niece there as well. So as they're eating, I guess the mother notices that Devon had lipstick on her teeth, and so she tells Nick, she's got something on her teeth. So he takes a napkin and he starts to wipe it off, and I'm like, why wouldn't she be able to wipe off the lipstick on her own teeth? Like, why did he have to do that? There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just like, it just looked awkward. So Nick's mom says that she's really gonna miss her son, and I guess Devon feels very guilty by taking Nick away from his family or something like that. Devon because before this, he had prepped her, right? Before the meeting, he prepped her. He told her, smile a lot, engage in the conversation, be happy, be cheerful, be upbeat. She was like the complete opposite. She didn't talk, she didn't smile, and in fact, she started crying. So the mother was like, why is she crying? And she says that it was just too much for her. Devon said that it was too much pressure, and she feels like all of this is her fault. I guess she feels guilty about taking him away from his family. I'm thinking that's what's wrong with her. So I guess that's what the issue was. I don't know, because the girl wasn't really talking much. She turned into a mute. She didn't say much of anything, and whatever. But at the end of the day, I guess the parents approved, because they were like, you know what, maybe we're not gonna fight this, because evidently this girl's got some emotional issues going on here, and we're just gonna leave that alone and be happy for them. And Nick says that her crying helped. I guess maybe the mom felt like because she was crying, she was showing how empathetic she was about what the parents might be going through, as far as, their son going away to a whole nother country, moving across the world. And maybe, they were like, oh, she feels really sad for us. And maybe that's why he thought that the tears was a plus that actually helped instead of hindered the situation. I don't know, but Devon, I'm gonna need you to get it together, girl. It ain't that crucial. It is not that crucial. Get it together, please. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.